the last year, I feel like I've really had that mental shift of it doesn't matter. Like, I'm not afraid of failure. I want failure. I want to chase after it
cool.
because, chances are, if I chase after failure on 10 projects, I'm going to win at some of those,
you know? Are.
And if I don't win the first time, I can keep trying,
Hey everyone, my name's Kira Miller, and I just want to say thank you so much for tuning back into the What's Your Life Journey podcast. On today's episode, we have Ryan Wesley Smith, a speaker and also works in the music industry. We cannot wait to share his story today. So, in the beginning of your journey, really struggling with just fearing failure and really wanting to be perfect, who would you say Ryan Wesley Smith was?
I think... First of all, I think we all struggle with that, and so for me, you find yourself and you're lost because you're not accomplishing the things that you want to because you're afraid to jump and do them. And I think that there's a big time in my life where I just I'm a dreamer, and so I always had these aspirations and goals and things that I really wanted to do, and I'm also kind of ambitious too. So a lot of the things that I dream about are not necessarily at reach.
Right.
So, I think that fear is a huge part of what I struggle with. I still struggle with. And it's just that, sometimes, when your dreams are bigger than the types of things you're able to immediately pull out and reach, you've got to work towards them. And by working towards them, you also have to, punch fear in the face and say, wait a second, you know what? I don't care if I fail. I want to try it. I want to attempt to do it. So I think during that time in my life when I was just afraid to jump and actually do it, you feel kind of lost because, again, I'm that person. I want to dream. I want to be ambitious. I want to be doing something. And so when you're not doing that, you kind of feel this weird, you feel stuck, And I think being stuck in life is hard, and we all go through it. Probably, more times than we can count on our hands. There's moments in our life where we feel stuck. So I think stuck and lost and just in a, that kind of weird spot, that'd be me when I was afraid to jump out and do stuff.
Yeah. When I guess as you were growing up, what would you say were some of those big dreams that maybe were out of reach, especially what were those dreams and why did you feel like they were out of reach? Is it because they were things that other people around you weren't doing? Is that why?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm really weird. I grew up. And even nowadays, I hang out with probably 70% people that are older than me, and so I'm an old soul, and a lot of times I have dreams and aspirations that are beyond where my group of my age group, my demo, maybe beyond what they're thinking of at the moment, and so I'll have close friends who are they're not like you, Tiara. They're not crushing it and doing a podcast, right? But a dream of mine, let's do a podcast or let's do a video project or whatever that may be. And my friends are in school or they're dating or they're doing all the normal stuff that you would do during this time. And so I've just always been that way. And so I think that's one of the big things for me is that I really didn't have the tangible examples in my life beyond people that were far ahead of me who, they have a car, they have a family, they have a house, they have all of this stuff, and then they're pursuing their dreams. And for me, I'm like some weird, 15-year-old, 16-year-old who's like, hey, let's go build a company and do all this stuff. And so a lot of what I dream of too is business. It's just kind of how I'm wired. I'm an entrepreneur. I love being able to build things and build teams. And so part of that is financial too. When you're 15 and you're rolling up to a bank yo, what's up? I want to start this company. It's a little
People
different.
Look at you and probably laugh.
Yeah, they're cool. Where's your mom?
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of them. I think another reason too, another part of it, it's sort of the idea that, you have people in your life that you have examples of people in your life. There's always people that you can reach out to that are doing something similar or doing something that could be similar. You could tie it to. But there's also, while I was growing up, there's like this thing called the internet. And as much as the internet is an incredible place and social media is like awesome, you and I work in that space and we get it. And so as much as we love the internet and it can help us minister to people, it can help us grow our businesses, it can help us, reach people, but it can also infiltrate our lives with unrealistic expectations of what success is.
Right. Absolutely.
And so I think that even speaking on fear, part of that is that, not only did I not have the people that were my age doing what I wanted to do, but I would have people that I didn't necessarily know, but I would see their journey, on socials, and I would be like, man, why am I not there? That's what the goal is. Yeah. When in reality, like in my own mind, my own head, that wasn't the goal. You would see something on socials and you'd be like, man, like I want that, you know? And so I think that plays into it. And yeah, I feel like a lot of the things that, you mentally, you have inside that are dreams and goals and, part of that whole journey of point A to point B, sometimes you, not only fear can infiltrate that, but then I think jealousy or comparison, that can also kind of cripple you. So, that's been something that I've dealt with as well. I think a lot of people too with socials. It's so hard to go on socials nowadays and see people, killing it and not be like, yo, like,
and you want to be happy for them is the problem. But like, if you're not at that level, sometimes you can't be happy for them because you're just like, I want to be where you are, and I don't know how you got there and how am I not there yet. Right. Man, I get that so much because I love following people who are super successful, and whether that is personally or like financially or whatever, it's fun to follow people like that because you aspire to be that. Right. And it can also totally like infiltrate your feelings, like you're saying. Yeah. Because you do start asking the questions like, why am I not there yet? Why am I not good enough? Where's my time? Where's my turn? So I get that. That's a hard place to be in. And like, so when you were younger, you started motivational speaking at like what, 16 maybe or something? Yeah. Talk to us about that.
Man, I've always been, it's funny. So I my whole speaking side of what I've done and what I do, I started when I was in school, and I was really terrible at it because I hated speaking. And so let's just say 5th grade, we had a book report, right? It was the worst part of my day. Like I hated it. I hated it so much that I like literally would get so much anxiety, and it was the worst thing ever. And that happened. And then, a few years later, I'm in high school, things are different, trying to impress girls, trying to, do the whole thing. And then randomly, I feel like, I was really involved with my church, really involved with my faith at that time, and really just had this moment of like, similar to what you're doing with this podcast, maybe I have a story to tell, story to share. And so, the way that kind of came to me, I felt God was like, hey, like, I want you to speak and tell your story. And I was like, hey, God, I'm not doing a book report, so I don't know what you're doing here, but
That's
and
hilarious.
So, I started speaking and doing really, my first ever speaking engagement that I did was, no joke, it was in North Carolina, and I went, it was at a barn, it was in front of like maybe 50 people, and I came in, I shared my story, and it's funny, like that was the first time I ever like publicly was like going somewhere to speak and share. Yep. And it was in front of 50 people, didn't have any nerves at all. It was so cool. Like prior to it, I was like stressing out, but then as I was there, as I was doing it, I felt this like peace come over me, and so I think that's where the magic is. When you do things and you kind of walk in front of fear and you say, wait a second, you're not going to win, you know, and you do it, and then you just kind of, you have this feeling of like, not only did I accomplish something by doing it, but like I also overcame a fear of mine.
Yep.
And that's incredible. And since then have gone and, I've been in Nashville the last 4 years and have kind of been off and on doing the speaking thing. I've also hosted festivals. I've spent like, I don't even know, like probably 100, 150 nights on a bus. Like I've gone all over. I've been with artists. I've done stuff. I've also been behind the scenes, management with artists, all that. And so it's very much about really just vocalizing your story. And that's, talking about the journey, right? Like I had that one moment where I decided I'm not going to let fear win. I'm going to share my story and I'm going to speak. And that moment led to this, led to that, led to that. And now I'm sitting here talking with Kiera on the, on the podcast. And so, it's amazing.
Well, exactly. And so it is weird how it's like just the one moment where you decided I'm not going to let fear get in the way. And then all these opportunities really came to you.
Right.
And I mean, it's through hard work and through probably the people you met, of course. But I think it's also just the huge thing is it sounds like you were ready for those things because inside you were like, fear, shut up.
Right.
I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to step out of my comfort zone. And you did. And now, like, look what's happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I think there's so many people out there that, they don't think they have the talent or they don't think that they have the story or they don't think that they have, this or that. And it's funny because, that mindset and that inner voice is not of God. It's not of you. I mean, it's 100% fear. It's fear talking. And so, you've got to realize that soon. And you've got to realize that, you know what, like maybe I should start a podcast. Maybe I should go out and start this business, or I should go out and start this ministry and mentor kids, or maybe I should, whatever it is in your life, there's something, I can guarantee you this in your life, whoever's watching, whoever's listening, you have something that you should be doing. Deep down, like, wait a second, you know what? If I took away fear and I took away financial, if I took away whatever kind of thing that's pushing or weighing onto you, there's something that you should be doing and you should be doing it. And you'll be surprised and shocked when you start doing that, what will start happening. And so for me, again, like it's absolutely, I put the work in, I met people, I built relationships, I did all the things that you needed to do. But it wasn't just because I wanted to be where I am now. Yeah. It was like that first moment of me saying, I'm not going to be afraid of this. I'm going to do it because I know I have to. Yeah. That's the moment that helped catapult me to be able to have those relationships and be able to have the courage to have those conversations and build those relationships. So I think that, I feel like, there's moments in everyone's lives that, you may not know it in the moment, but looking back, you can really pinpoint like that was a big moment for me, So
even though it sounds like speaking at that point, well, before you started actually becoming a motivational speaker, it was not really your strong suit, but was storytelling, would you say? Was that pretty natural for you, like talking to people? Because that's what I found. People always said to me, Kiera, you're naturally great at conversations and like listening, but also talking with people. So they're like, why would you not just do whatever comes natural for you? And they're like, start a podcast and put a camera on. And I was always like, well, I'm not good on camera. And then I saw myself on my friends' videos and I was like, I'm not bad. So like for me, it was being on camera that I was like, oh, I'm not good at. For you, it sounds like maybe it was the speaking aspect, but you were actually... did you feel like you were good at least storytelling and talking with people?
Totally. Yeah. I grew up and I was that kid who, I was like the class clown. I was funny and I was whatever, but I was always really good friends with mostly everybody, I had a ton of friends and I felt like, I really got energy from other people and loved being able to build these networks of people and all of that. And I see myself that way now too. Like I love being able to connect with people.
And you make people feel comfortable like the second you meet them.
And that's awesome. And like that's their goal. Like I want to be able to so often, like especially in the industry that you and I are in music here in Nashville, there's a lot of people who it's not that. Yep. It's almost, hey, I wanna intimidate you because of who I am or what I do. Right. And I think that, for me, my goal is always like, I have something to share, but in all reality, like I just get to sit here and talk to you because you have something that I don't have.
Exactly.
And I want to be able to know what that
learn
is
from that.
because everybody has something. Everybody, not to be like super whatever, but like we all have like a diamond, or we all have something that of value that we can share. And by being able to find that, it's by being able to be comfortable with people. And so I think that's me. I've always been that way.
So that was natural for you.
Totally, yeah. And the speaking thing, it was weird. Like I was super comfortable with conversation, but then coming up and being in front of people, I was nervous, or I was this or that. But in all reality, like it wasn't. It was the fear that was making me that way, because I'm great with people. And so it's just the people, especially like, hey, I'm afraid to do a book report in front of the people that I know that are in my class. Like that doesn't make any sense. But it's the fear that comes in and tells you that, when in reality, like, no, you're really good at it, and you love it. You feel good after it.
You need to do it.
Yeah. So totally,
So where have you seen fear maybe pop up more in your life since then? So you were 16 then, and you were motivational speaking for how long? I mean, still to this day, really.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. Like I do a lot of like, I did a lot of like youth conferences and a lot of the festivals and stuff like that. So it was really probably maybe last 5 years I've been in front of different audiences, different people, and so since the the whole book report thing, I think that fear comes up quite a bit. It's just being able to know when it's fear, and knowing, I think knowing not only when it's fear, but knowing too where that fear is coming from. Like, is it real fear? Like, am I standing on the ledge of a cliff that if I fall off, I'm gonna die? Like,
right? Because that's
a different type of fear.
Yeah.
But then if there's fear coming from, hey, I have that same feeling I had when I was going to my youth group, and I had people encouraging me, and I had people telling me you should share your story. I have that same kind of feeling telling me I should do something here in this situation that's a different thing, but I'm afraid to do it.
Yeah.
I think that's where fear pops up, and I think that we're as a human being, we're always striving to do something. We're creating something or building something or things like that. And again, me being like that entrepreneur type, I'm always like, let's do something. Let's build a team. Let's build something. And so I think fear comes up when new ideas pop up that are not, again, like, hey, this bottle of water, right? Like I can pick that up. I'm not afraid of it. But if it's over there, am I afraid to reach over and actually do it and execute it? And so I think that comes in those moments when the idea is bigger than yourself. Yep. And
so true.
And so I think that's when you have to realize it's a different type of fear. It's not the fear of like death or the fear of like, physical harm or things like that. It's the fear of, if I do this, will I fail? And man, I've been reading a book actually the last couple months. It's a really big book.
Yeah, I was like, Ryan.
It talks about back in like super old times when there's like kings and queens and like different people and power and all that stuff. And it talks a lot about fear. Like, it's funny we're talking about this because I just realized like it correlates. But it talks about like how in times when you're not in charge, how do you navigate being able to, how do you navigate being able to get what you want and not in a way of like,
malicious way,
but like, how do you navigate, again, like when you can't reach something yourself, how do you navigate being able to get it and being able to accomplish, your goal? And so the cool thing that I've found is like, man, it talks so much about fear. It talks so much about the idea of, if I fail, that'll be the worst thing that could happen. But you have to flip that. Like, the worst thing that could happen is you not do it. Because
true.
What if you do it and you accomplish it? Or what if you do it and you don't accomplish it? Chances are you are at least one step forward,
Yep.
you know? And that's the thing that I've really like found myself. In the last year even, it's kind of opened my eyes to why not, you know? Like, man, if I know I'm afraid of this because I'm afraid of failure, that in and of itself should be taken away because the failure, like failing should be the goal. You know, when you really, you know, just turn things around and your goal is like, I want to fail because then when I fail, I know that at least I did something. And also I know that, hey, it doesn't work this way. Let me try a different way. And so you know, there's only a certain amount of ways that something would work. And so when you fail, you know, kind of in like, you know, in different situations, you find you're able to navigate quicker to where you need to go. And so, yeah, I think failure is one of the largest things people are afraid of, and people should really mentally change that because it has changed my life to know that, you know, if I actually do something, that's winning in and of itself because most people are afraid to do it. So, yeah.
Have you watched the TED Talk with Shonda Rhimes?
No.
So I don't know if you know anything about her. I didn't actually until I watched the TED Talk, but she talks a lot about, well, she wrote, I believe, and produced Grey's Anatomy and like Scandal and all this. Like, she's just huge on TV. Yeah. And she did a TED Talk that's called My Year of Yes. And it's literally about saying yes to everything that she's afraid of. And she talks about how when she did that for an entire year, it undid the fear of everything she was afraid of. And I'm just like, see, that's exactly what it is. And I would highly recommend watching it and reading her book because it's like, that's what's going to undo your fears just by saying yes to it. Because you'll know at least, I actually can't do it, so I'm not going to do it. Or, I can do it, so I'm going to do it. But at least you know at that point, and you'll never be stuck in that headspace of like, can I do this? Can I not? I don't know.
That's where people get stuck. When you let fear win, and when you let failure win by being afraid of failure, that's when you get stuck. Because then you're like, well, if I do it, there is a chance of failure, so I just won't do it. And that's what I think is crippling. It's crippled me for many years on many different projects, many different things that I knew I really need to be chasing after. And I know it's crippled so many people. So, you know, if there's, I'm going to check that out because for real, like, should. And so, yeah.
And you're likely going to learn no matter what.
Absolutely.
If you do something.
Totally. Yeah.
So throughout all this, what would you say are some maybe like exercises or like mental, spiritual, whatever, like to kind of check your mind for you? And I mean, because you were saying the first step is being aware that fear is there.
Right.
So what helps you to be aware? Is it reading? Is it like hearing other people talk? Like, what does that look like for you?
I read a lot.
Yeah.
I don't read. I'm one of those people that like, I'll pop in my car and I'll have Audible on or I'll do something. And so I love like that whole idea of audiobooks. I also love not to be like tooting your horn, but I love podcasts. And so if you're listening to this podcast, you're already ahead of the game because being able to hear other people's experiences, being able to hear what they're struggling with or the things that I found this helps me, you know, maybe that could help you. And so I listen to a ton of stuff. Again, I'm like that weird guy who's like kind of an old soul. And so I listen to a lot of like older business podcasts. I also listen to, religious podcasts and things, Christian stuff. And so, I'm a believer, and I just really believe in reading and just listening. Because there's, again, it's sort of like the idea of conversation. If you come into every conversation and you think, well, I have the best thing to offer in this, so let me come into it making sure that I present that to this person, you're never going to be able to actually uncover the value that the other people in your life have and can present to you. So it's the same thing with books. You know, if you don't go buy a book or you don't look for something to read or something to listen to, you're not going to listen to it and you're not going to grow because you're going to be growing at your pace. But if you can hear what other people are doing, you know, I believe in that. And so I also like, I'm not one of those, I'm not like, I only shop at Whole Foods and I believe in Aura and whatever, like
Yeah.
whatever it is. I've started to actually meditate in the mornings. And I have I forgot what app it is, but I listen to like a 5-minute meditation.
Okay.
And it helps me just clear my head, and I love it,
That's incredible.
Because I think that one of the things, and I've found in that time too, I'll actually like be thinking through, like afterwards, I'll first of all, like the whole goal of meditation is not to like think through things. It's to like literally just sit there and not think at all. But, and maybe, whatever. But basically after that, I have a lot of mental clarity and I'm able to think through my day. Like,
Interesting.
here are the things that I'm doing. Here are the things that I'm afraid of.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm afraid to talk to my boss, or maybe I'm afraid to talk to my girlfriend or talk to whoever it is. And you get to like really think about why.
Yeah.
Why am I afraid of those things? And so yeah. And
because you don't have the extra clutter in your mind that day.
Right.
Gotcha.
And you also, by being able to consume podcasts like this, by being able to listen to audiobooks and all of that, you have answers that are external. You don't just have your own way of thinking.
Yep.
You get to really like filter through things that other people have said as well. So, and I certainly don't have all the answers to life or anything, but I think, that's helped me tremendously. And of course, like, books, podcasts, this podcast, my favorite podcast.
Oh yeah.
And just being able to like meditate and do things like that really clears my head. And I think that it helps me, it helps me just think through things and really find, where is this fear coming from?
Yeah. What's next for you in life?
That's a good question. I think that we're always moving forward, and the last year, 2 years, I felt like I've moved forward at a rapid pace.
Yeah.
But I've also like slowed down some things in different areas of my life, and I'm excited for the future to be able to kind of do that session of like, here's where I'm at.
Yep.
Where do I want to go? And so I don't have a specific here's Ryan Wesley Smith in a year.
Yeah.
But I do think that the goal is to be able to get that dreaming side of me back and be able to really just like, I've always been that way. I've always been like dreaming big and having those big ambitions. And so I think that's a big part of it for me, is just to be able to hone in on that, figure out what is the goal that I can accomplish right now and how can I hit it at all angles and move towards that. So
interesting. Because sometimes when you're in the production stage, which is to me like the process of after the dream, you've got your thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
You kind of forget to dream because you're so busy producing and doing that you forget to be creative and be dreamy. So I think it's really good that you're now in a season where you can be creative again. And
and I think that there's seasons. That's it exactly. I think there's never a time when, if you're like held as a slave to someone, that's probably not like a good time.
Right.
But I think that there's a season in life where you're building your empire, you're building someone else's empire, you're dreaming for yourself, you're dreaming for someone else, you're whatever it is. There's no right or wrong place to be. But for me, I think that like the season that I'm entering, and I feel God really just pushing me into, is that season of like, what are the things that I know Ryan Wesley Smith wants, and what are the things that the dreams and things that he's laid on my heart. How do I chase after those? So I feel really excited. I feel super scared too. There's that fear coming in, but I feel like too I've grown a lot over the last couple of years and have been able to meet people like you and have people in my life who are just encouraging of those dreams. So I feel very excited about it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's incredible. So I guess to kind of wrap up, what would you say? Well, 2 questions to wrap up. So the first one would be, what would be like maybe an inspirational quote, a Bible verse, a story of someone else's, or maybe it's like something that happened in your life that really kind of defined your entire situation of fear. Like for me, if I was explaining it, it would probably be that Shonda Rhimes TED Talk. So for you, what was one that you were like, dang, okay, I understand?
Yeah. Man, I think when I was growing up, again, I'm like that old soul. So I started in the big kids club in our youth group. I was moved out of like the little kids like middle school group, and now I'm in like the high school group. And so I think right then I kind of puffed my chest out, and I was like, man, I want to like do something, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. And so I would hear people say, no, you're not old enough, you're not this or whatever. And so a verse for me is like 1 Timothy 4:12, where it encourages young people to really just like know that like God can use you where you're at, right? And so whatever age you are, whatever situation you're in, wherever you live, like God can use you where you're at. And so I've always held on to that, knowing that I see kids all the time at like on social media, or even managing artists at shows, and I would see them hustling, doing stuff, and I'd be like, man, that was me, because that's me too now. Like I'm constantly not letting situations or my age or where I'm at in life define what I'm able to do. And I think a lot of that comes too from fear as well. Like when you're, I'm not old enough to do that, right? I mean, in certain situations, it's true, but there's also things in life where like I'm not old enough to start a podcast. Man, you know what? There's some 4-year-olds with some podcasts that are killer. So. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like, I think that, that's an example, but I just think that like it kind of plays into that, where don't let, and I sound like such a rebellious kid, but like, don't let societal authority tell you what you can and can't do. Let that be between you and the situation, and don't let fear have any place in that. So that's a verse. I have a ton of quotes. I can't remember any of them right now, but I'm a big fan of like, even in like the business world, I love like Gary Vee, and he says some super cool stuff, and so yeah.
It says a lot of super cool stuff.
Yeah,
I honestly never remember his quotes. But.
Yeah, and like I probably can't say half of them either. Because they're a little raunchy, but I think Walt Disney has some cool quotes too. So I'm being no help right now with any of the quotes, but
no, I really want to acknowledge you, because I think like, even though you are young, you're very young. I'm saying you're 21.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
really
I'm about
young.
to be 21 in like a month and a half.
Okay, not even 21.
But I don't know when this is coming out, so that's why I'm like, hey, we'll run to 21. You know what I'm saying?
True. Okay. So yeah, you're about 21.
Yeah.
And but the thing that happens when you come into a room, well, like I said, you make people feel very comfortable. But I think the biggest thing, you don't come in and feel entitled. Like you were saying, you feel like you can learn from everybody in the room. Like, your stuff and you come in confidently. But at the same time, you're like, I know I'm young, and so therefore I'm going to listen to everybody else and what they have to say. But I also know that I have something to offer, and I'm going to offer it. But I'm also going to listen too. And I think some people will come in entitled and be like, well, I know what I'm doing. Whether you're young or old, age doesn't matter. It's just your mindset. But we'll come in and be like, I know what I'm doing. No one else in here does. So
we'll know this too. Like, not like, trust me, I have an ego too, just as everybody does. And I think ego is not terrible. I think that when it's out of proportion to who you are, then it's a problem.
Yeah.
But I think that, there's a polar opposite too of, hey, I'm going to come into a room and I'm going to say, I don't know anything. I don't deserve to be in this room, and I don't want to even talk. I just want to hear, and I want to be able to learn. In certain situations, like, man, if I like went to the White House, or if I went somewhere like that, I probably wouldn't say a bunch, because like, you're at the White House, right?
Right.
But I think that in certain situations, there's people who, they've been kicked down. They don't. Their confidence is low, and it's not due to them. It's due to like their situation. Yep. But I think people got to realize too that you have something of value. You have something to share, and so know that you can walk into a room in confidence with that, and be able to share that. But never ever walk into a room and think that you're the only person that matters, or you're the only person of value, or anything like that, because that's never true.
Yep.
There's always value in other people. And I, working in an industry where a lot of times it's not true.
Yeah.
A lot of times you walk into rooms and people walk into rooms and they think a little differently than you do. I think that the coolest thing you're able to do, and this is like, I could get deep in this, but one of the things that I, really feel called to is being in that entertainment industry where the ego is a thing. Yeah. I want to be able to be in those rooms and be an example and be able to be like, wait a second, no, like I want to show me what is that value that you can share? How can we really share that together and corporately like just be genuine with each other? Yep. And so I think, I wouldn't want to be afraid. I would want to encourage people that no matter where you are in life, you have something of value. Don't be afraid to not share it. Don't let fear win in that situation too. So
interesting. Yeah. And I think like the other kind of side note of that is if you are the youngest person in the room, like, I mean, I work with 50-year-old men and, sometimes it's people like walk in and you're like, it's kind of intimidating. But I think something that I do is I actually make light of the situation. And I think it is because I know I have something to offer. And my thing has always been, I don't really believe in authority in a lot of situations. So my thing is I kind of bring them down to my level in a sense of like personality. So I will joke around with them or I'll just like,
Me too.
Or I'll make really nice comments, stuff like that. Just like, so they know that I'm like, we're on the same level. You're not above me and I'm not below you.
Totally.
But also like, I feel like there's more humanity in that too. Cause you just get to like socialize in a different way with people.
There's it's funny. The last job I was in, I would be on conference calls with like, or in person, I'd be in like rooms with like label execs who drive like Bentleys and they're, whatever. They're like balling out of control.
Right.
And here I come in, 20 years old. And, what really helped is my previous boss had a nickname for me and that was Young Ryan. And so I would always come in with like the young perspective. Right. And so I think that it is good though. Like don't be so serious and don't try to like be above your age, right? Like I feel like it's all based on like, again, age is sort of this idea of, how does an 18-year-old act? How does a 25-year-old act? Just be you, And so I think that, if I have something to share and I know, wait a second, I can add value to what we're talking about, then do it, And so, but I do agree with that we sometimes would make light of it and it helps because it brings us down, not just in the idea that we're all like just, I'm at this level and here's my title and here's your title. It brings us down to the idea that we're all really just humans. Yep. And so let's sit down and try and do something together. Yeah. And that's a great place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the final question then would just be, in your life right now, after all of this, who would you say now that Ryan Wesley Smith is?
I aspire to be confident. I aspire to be someone that can inspire. And I also aspire to be, aspire to be someone that is down to earth and that can be approached. And so, every day, do I hit all those? No, we all struggle and, I struggle with ego. Like I walk around sometimes like, hey, I'm Ryan. Like, what's up? But I think that in all reality, like I just want to be able to walk into a room, have a conversation and leave a room and feel good about it and feel good about, even small conversations about like, yo, let's go get coffee and talk about the new Drake album or like whatever it is. Right. Like I think conversations like that too can be it can be as impactful as like a deep conversation like we're having now because of us being genuine, right? Yeah. And so, I think throw genuine into that as well. Just overall, I want to be someone that can have a conversation with someone and brighten up their day, leave them inspired, encourage them, that kind of stuff. So that's who I am. And I think as a person, just myself, I'm really driven. I want to stay driven. I want to be someone that no matter what I do, what I accomplish, what I don't accomplish, I want to always be moving forward. Yeah. And so driven doesn't mean I want to have, $1 billion and a nice house. Driven means that no matter what thing I'm doing, whatever project I'm doing, I'm constantly moving forward in that. So I think forward momentum, driven, encouraging. That's what I aspire to be.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that you are that now is like amazing, because where you started, you like felt stuck and you were afraid, and now you still are afraid to do things, but you're doing it anyways.
Right.
And that's
punching fear in the face.
Yeah.
Come on.
Seriously. Yeah, that's incredible. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for joining us and sharing how you have overcome fear.
Thank you, Tiara. Man, I'm so excited. I love this podcast, and I just think you're a living example of doing it, and of having an idea, not being afraid to fail, not being afraid of fear. And so you inspire me, and I'm honored to be on this podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good friend.
Boom.
See ya. Thank you so much for watching the What's Your Life Journey podcast. If you want to see more content like this, you can hit the subscribe link in the description, or you can go to our Patreon page and join our community there. If you want more exclusive, inspiring content, just go to patreon.com/whatsyourlifejourney. Thank you so much again for watching. We really appreciate you.